our family has been travel nursing for a little bit now, and I'm part of some Facebook groups, and the question always comes up is, how do I find housing, and what does it look like to, yeah, find an affordable place on my contract. So today I just wanted to break down kind of our family strategy of what we do as we're researching and looking for places at different places that we've traveled. We've only done this a few times, but I figured the couple times that we've done it might be helpful for you and kind of creating a system of how we're exploring and how we're researching different places. So one is how to find housing as a travel nurse. Again, my name is John Boyer, and I myself am not a travel nurse. My wife is actually the travel nurse. I consider myself support staff in our relationship. So what that looks like for us is I'm a stay-at-home dad. We have two young kids, our daughter Camden, who's 2, almost 3, and Lincoln, who is 15 months. So a young family, so I get to spend the time with them during our travels. But also my role is as support staff is when Amber finds a contract that she's potentially interested in, my kind of role is to help facilitate all the other things that aren't nurse specific. So transportation, housing, and just doing kind of market research of where we'll be staying and what makes sense for our family. So that's why I consider myself support staff in that. Today I'll be sharing a little bit about our strategy, and again, this is not an exhaustive strategy by any means, but this is what we do at this point in our lives. Again, we're on our second contract now, and this is what we've done and seen success with. So I really wanted just to provide an opportunity, give you a good blueprint of what we do, and maybe in hopes to give you a system to help you on your next travel assignment. So that's the goal for today, is give you some guidelines of where to get started and how to look for a place when you're looking for housing for your next assignment. So it starts out, and I'm kind of going to mirror this with Amber and my strategy, and then this will probably apply to you. So it starts out as far as, hey, we're looking for a contract. We have some places that we're interested in. And then we start looking at contracts and finding different amounts. So a big part is the contract, is where we're going. As you'll see further along, like different places are more expensive than others. So you have to keep that in mind as far as how much to expect out of the contract, and also stipends that you'll be getting as well. It's also important to make sure that whatever contract you're accepting, you'll be making enough to cover the increased costs of renting a place when you're there. So I put stipend amount versus taxed income. Different places have different variations. If you're new to travel nursing, the stipend amount is the untaxed portion, so you'll get to keep more of that, and then you're also charged an hourly rate. So we try to look for a higher stipend amount so we can keep more. And this, so as we're looking for housing and as we are looking at contracts, different locations and amounts, our general rule of thumb for housing when we're looking at an affordable place for the contracts is 25% to 40% of our monthly take-home pay we're comfortable spending on housing. How we came up with that, 25% is definitely like a Dave Ramsey kind of financial thing. We felt comfortable with 40%, and we found if you can stay within this range, you'll still have a good amount of savings by the end of, depending on your other spending, of course. But for us, there's a good amount of extra savings that will still be left over after all of our other expenses. So obviously, there's going to be insurance, transportation, food, and certain places. So all your normal expenses, if you can keep your housing expense between the 25 to 40%, it'll give you a good buffer between that kind of break-even point of you make it all and you spend it all. So that's kind of what we shoot for there. Not only while we're traveling, but at home as well. This is kind of where we try to live. So if you need a different way to look at it, in other words, it's 1 to 1.5 weeks of work should be paid for your monthly housing. Typically for our housing, utilities, water, sewer, garbage, and even internet are included in that number. So we're even getting into the 40% is still makes sense in those cases. But as you're looking at contracts, you usually see the weekly amount that you make. So if you can bridge that over during your research time and plug that into housing options, that's a good place to start when you're looking at applying for rent. So that's kind of typically where we try to stay. Is about a 1 week of Amber's work gets applied to the monthly housing allotment that we try and stick with. So a good place to start. So we know our contract now. This part can kind of be overlooked, and you can kind of go into the weeds a little bit around some things. So we typically try to set a good criteria when we start. Now we're on our second contract, so it's already starting to be defined a little more. And if it's your first contract, it's going to probably be all over the place. But the more that you can find what you want out of a housing situation, the easier it is to be able to like filter down your search and save you a lot of time in that sense. So good examples of these would be, how many numbers of beds and baths do you need? Do you mind sharing the space, or would you rather have a private unit? A big one is commute time. We'll talk more about this, but I think a good rule of thumb is probably under an hour is, anything under an hour is kind of ours. What's nearby? So as you're traveling, I'm hoping that you want to do some exploring in the city that you're seeing. So with your housing, do you want to be near the downtown life? Do you want to be restaurants and all the things, or it might be a different case where you want to be out in the mountains hiking and near nature and different things. So just having that defined as well. Different amenities that are nearby. If you're traveling with your pets, making sure that you're filtering those searches in as well, and just a lot of other options that you can input. And again, the more defined you can get with your search, the easier it'll be to narrow down really what you want, but also options available. So I thought it'd be helpful to see what our list is of things that we want in our place. So just as an example, we know that we want 2 to 3 bedrooms. We like the entire unit. We've done a shared living space before, and just didn't like it. Just that's all it was. So we prefer to have our family of 4 our own private space. So we can get away with 2 bedrooms because our kids are small. We like the 3rd bedroom for the option for guests to be over, but that's just us. Young families, so kid-friendly things nearby, parks, pools, museums, etc. Furnished place, we have looked at options as far as renting unfurnished. Typically when you find those options, those landlords are typically looking for longer term stays. So where we're looking for 3 months, they're typically looking for at least 6 months. So furnished places up front is typically a good place to start with utilities included. One for us that we share as we're communicating with landlords is we love having people come and visiting us at where we're going. So just being totally transparent about that and making sure that they're okay with having visitors and what that looks like as far as guests traveling and coming to see us. So, and this is just ours, I mentioned before, 45 minutes or less commute. That's what we do in our home state of Washington. So we know that that's doable as far as family life. So anything beyond that, we're potentially open to, but we'd rather stay within, less of commute time with young kids is always better. So those are just some of our things that we're looking at when we're looking at places. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to just share some of the resources that are kind of widely known, and in the hopes that I can kind of break down of how we use them, but my also hope is like I'll do a case study or an example at the end of this video as far as like an example for you to see of like walk you through the process of what it looks like while we're doing it. So resources as far as when you're looking for houses is good would be starting with a recruiter. We're currently in a contract in Hawaii, so it's amazing, but like anywhere, you're not going to know the gray areas and places to avoid, places to that'll be good. So we started out with the recruiter of just asking like, what are certain cities that you'd recommend staying at? And we haven't had great success as far as locking in housing with a recruiter yet. I know, again, we've only done this a few times, but it's more just for general info on those kind of things. Good first place to look would be Furnish Finder. It's the most popular one. The reason why I would recommend starting here with your search is because all the landlords, all the owners that are on the site are geared already towards the travel nurses and travel nurse families. So you can kind of get a good sense of what's available, pricing, and you can know going into it that that the people that are listing their properties are already welcoming to the travel nurse kind of lifestyle and the flexibility and the contracts and things like that. So a good place to start, furnishfinder.com or net. Furnish Finders, good place to start. Then I go over to Zillow typically. If we're struggling to find anything with Furnish Finder, I just double up and go to Zillow. And then part of Zillow is if you go to the keyword search and then typed in furnish, that'll typically narrow it down to places that could work for you as well. And just good research on that sense. Then I jump over to Facebook Marketplace. One of the reasons I enjoy Facebook Marketplace is because, like a lot of things on Facebook, I vet the person that's posting it. So if someone is saying, hey, I have a unit for rent, it's this amount, have the whole posting, typically what I do is I do my own little background check on them. So I go and click on their profile and kind of just check them out. Like if they only created an account a month ago, I'm probably going to pass on that. If they have 2 pictures and none of them is them, or none of the pictures are them, or they've never done any posts, that's just my kind of red flag of like, I'm going to pass on those places. But if it's someone reputable, it's like they've been on Facebook for 10 years or so, and they're showing pictures of their grandma, or just different things like that to make like, not saying it won't be a scam, but less likely to be a scam. That's a good way just to vet those people too. So I like Facebook Marketplace. With that, I also encourage to do Facebook groups. There are the typical general travel nursing newbies groups, which is great as far as general information. But what I'm finding is there's city-specific travel nurse groups to go to that owners are getting into more and more specific and more dialed down to specific areas. So I can jump into that too in a little bit. And this one's actually, the last one is posting on social and using your network has been super helpful for us. The reason we do in a number of ways. One, we found for both of our contracts, we found a friend of a friend has a place available. So we've been able to connect in this way. We've also used our network. So my mom, shout out to Lisa, my mom is recently retired. And so we've shared as we were coming to Hawaii that we were looking for a place, not sure where to go. And that kind of sent her off on, hey, here's what we're looking for. And she started searching on her own for us as far as, hey, this could be a good place, and started doing some market research for us too. So including the family, not only on the travel side, but also the prep side has been fun. And you never know what your network has available, and it's been encouraging for us to at least ask. So that's something else I would encourage. It's just maybe it's a simple post of, hey, I'm looking to go to Houston, Texas. Does anyone have a friend of a friend or know someone there that can help me out? And the great thing about that too is even if it doesn't transpire into housing, if you get connected with someone that's there, they can just more boots on the ground, things to recommend, where to stay. We found it super helpful. We've had family in a couple of spots, and it's been super helpful just to have that insider knowledge before even going in. So yeah, posting on social and sharing what you're doing and your travels and all the different things. So as you're going through all these, and again, my hope is to share all of this and then do a case study or an example for you of how we would do it at the end. So market research. So as you're looking through, some of the questions that you should be asking yourself or should be coming up is, are there places available that are fitting your criteria? Is there homes that are available that are hitting all the boxes, or at least most of the boxes, that if you're doing this before you sign the contract, now you know that, hey, at least I know that the contract's within my range, and you can feel comfortable going forward, signing the contract and setting up housing at the same time. It is recommended to secure housing before you sign the contract. At least I've seen that on a number of Facebook pages. Um, I feel like that's good advice overall, but I'd also say, yeah, it's tough to lock in. You kind of want to do them close to the same time, but yeah, you don't want to be signing into something in your contract. And so making sure that if you're signing before, or you're signing your housing before you sign the contract, just making sure that the the owner or property manager knows that you might be canceling, or there's a potential that you'd be canceling, and what that policy is if a travel nurse gets canceled. But yeah, if there's a lot of options, it's probably um, less important that you lock that down first. If there's only a couple options that mark it off, then you might want to, yeah, dial that in before. So, but anyway, are there places available that fit your criteria? If yes, great. It's an easy yes. You can do it. If not, what are you willing to sacrifice on? That was kind of the big thing for us is, um, are there things that were not even difficult, but there's certain things that are non-negotiable for us. It's kind of like the needs and wants, right? Like there's certain things that we need, and there's other things that we just want. So a good example for us is the 2 to 3 bedroom um, filter. We could definitely get away with two. Ideally, we would have three. So that's something that we know we can be flexible on, is number of bedrooms and baths. So yeah, if everything's not getting checked off, like, is there something that you could sacrifice on that would make it more affordable to live there? And another question we ask ourselves in that same bedroom situation is, how can we be creative to make it work? Are we willing to travel a little further outside of where the hospital is? Are we okay adding, 10 more minutes to our commute time to save a couple $100 per month, or whatever that looks like for you? So there's creative solutions that can make it still work. And at the end, if there's nothing really that lines up, I'm always asking the recruiter, but is it something that maybe it's just a contract that's not going to work right now? And that's okay to say too. There's nothing wrong with it. And it's not that you don't like the place. It's just, if the money doesn't make sense, it doesn't make sense. So I say all this with a couple things to remember. Being flexible with yourself. So like I mentioned before, we're in Hawaii, and we've done other contracts, but we knew coming to Hawaii that it was just kind of a dream job that we'd want to connect with. So going into it, we knew, like, if there was a way that we can at least break even, that would make it worth it for us. Like, in the sense of, if we can have, in essence, I mean, obviously we're living and working, but in essence, a 3-month vacation in Hawaii and break even, that would be sweet. Now, fortunately, we're well above that so far. It is expensive in Hawaii. Food is really expensive, so just keep that in mind. But yeah, so that was those are the kind of things of being flexible with where you're going, but also with your criteria too. It's like, you just have to be able to justify it to yourself at the end. Like, so that's something that we came in. So just being mindful of too, as you're exploring different dream places. You do you. Honestly, like I said, this is just guidelines for hopefully help you, give you kind of a system, or yeah, like a guideline of good things to consider as you're searching for a place. But in the end, you're going to make do with what you need to do. So you do you. Also, as you're making these decisions, this is kind of a mantra we've had, as far as kind of that moment of like pulling the trigger of like signing a contract, or committing to a housing situation, is knowing, like, these contracts aren't forever. We're on our second 13-week contract, and it's like, it goes really, really fast. So all the things, like, are the things that you're thinking about right now, are you overthinking them, thinking that it's going to be a forever situation when in reality it's going to be 13 weeks? And we're about halfway through this contract, and we're already dreaming, thinking about what's next, uh, and all the different things. So um, knowing it's not forever. And another mantra is you can do hard things. Travel nursing is fun and exciting, but it's not easy. So knowing that you can do hard things and it's just for a short season, yeah, just remind yourself of that. So last thing is you've got this. We could do this. Travel nursing is exciting. It's a good opportunity to make some good money and explore different places. So thank you so much for bearing with me during all of that. I'm really excited to share kind of what we do in hopes that it could help someone else down the road, um, and learning what their um, yeah, what their criteria is when you travel. So yeah, feel free to comment what that is for you, and I'd love to jump into just an example of if Amber came to me today and said, hey, I want to go for a contract. I'm going to walk through kind of what we do and what kind of my process would look like as we're looking online at different places. So we've used Atlas MedStaff in the past and really enjoyed working with them. This is not paid promotion by any means, but it's just a job board that we're used to using. So there's a bunch of different other ones around here, but Atlas is a good one to start with and great people to work with. But another one would be like in Aya and Vivian, our other job boards that we've looked on before. So anyway, let's just look up a position here. I'm just going to plug in my wife's credentials because she's awesome. Let's see, so an RN, PEDS, PZR, and we'll just do a PICU on there as well. And I think we want to look at Texas. Let's see what's available in Texas. Well, there's just 2 right now. So, I don't know, what's a CVOR? CVOR. I don't know. 40 day, let's do. Oh, another criteria for a contract is days for us because I've never done nights with kids, but all right, let's check out El Paso, Texas, 1845 a week. First glance, that seems too low, but hey, let's just run the numbers and see what it looks like in nights too. Wow. But sometimes housing can make it affordable. There's 2 positions available. So El Paso, Texas, 1845. So quick search. Let's jump over to Furnish Finder just to see what El Paso, Texas looks like. We're going to say, let's just start at the beginning of August. And right now it looks like our monthly budget is, for housing, would be the same as the contract weekly rate, so about 1,800 to 2,000. We'll start at 1,800, and then we'll just search. Actually, let's bounce back. I don't know if this is going to say what hospital it's at. It does not. So let's just look up options of what we might have though in El Paso. Right, I'm more of a map guy, so let's do map view. All right, so here we go. So it looks like a lot of green. For us, we want the entire unit, and we want at least 2 bedrooms. Well, let's start with 3 and see if there's anything available at that rate. Looks like we have 3 in the downtown area. Utilities included, fully furnished, that's good. Children's hospital, so makes me think that could be where it would be. So that's a good option there. Outside of that, there's a 1,600 El Paso Airport, so there's got to be relatively all close. Something else that we would do while we were doing this research is checking neighborhoods, parks nearby, safety ratings, that kind of thing, as far as, see if I can zoom in on this a little bit. Safety ratings on different places, preferably not on the freeway, but this one looks like by Rose Garden could be nice. Manhattan Heights Historic District, furnished 1750. So yeah, it does look like it could be a good option. It's a little cheaper cost of living. Would need to do more research on El Paso, but there's enough options for 3 bedrooms that make me feel like financially, if we wanted to go to El Paso, that could work. Next stop would be Quick Zillow. Let's see, let's go to El Paso, Texas for rent. Let's see. And again, we're just doing market research. Hey, does it make sense to do it? Price, max price, we'll just say 2,000. And part of this with Zillow is we wanted to have, we have to add the filter that says furnished. That'll give us the options, at least more of an idea of people that are, so if you come down here to more and scroll down to keywords, it says furnished. It's actually one of the examples there, furnished. So we're just sorting through. We're at 2-bed. Let's go 1.5 bath. So let's jump into 3. So just by the pictures, it looks like there's a huge apartment. That got to be half of it. A lot of good options at that price point. So just by first glance, it looks like financially this can make sense. Again, we'd want to look at maybe getting near a park or a pool, what parking will look like, but just quick nitty-gritty. I might even jump over to Facebook and do, let's see, Texas, there's definitely Travel Nurse Board, but Texas is kind of big. Let's see if there's El Paso Travel Nurse. Not one made specifically for nurses, but there's a couple new ones up here that I might be worth checking out. So even that Texas one, if we go back just to Texas in general, Travel Nurse, I would probably join this one, and there's a bunch of different posts in there as far as, at least in some of the groups that we're involved in, is people looking all over the place. Like Hawaii, we're part of a Hawaii group, and there's all of the islands are part of the same group, so there might be some good options in there if you're looking for housing and different things. So those are some good starts. So yeah, that's kind of what it looks like. Again, I was kind of thrown off by the estimated weekly cost, but with the housing, you could still easily, looks like, get in the that realm of our rule of 25 to 40%. So 1 week of work equals 1 week of housing, which seems to be the case. So if El Paso was somewhere where we'd want to go, it would, it looks like, facilitate our housing needs. So yeah, hopefully that was helpful to you, and feel free to reach out if there's somewhere where you want us to run the numbers, or I mean, we're pretty available and always looking to network with people. So if there's, yeah, definitely join some of the groups. There's always people willing to shed some light on their experiences as well. So again, thank you for watching, and yeah, hopefully this was helpful, and we'll catch you next time.